Einen wunderschönen guten Abend und ganz herzlich willkommen zu
Very good evening to you and a warm welcome to the digital opening of the Humboldt Forum. I'm Mitri Sirin and I'm standing right in front of it, and from here I've got a spectacular view. I can see the Berlin television tower, I can see the cathedral and this amazing facade of this new building. And there was such a lot of discussion about this. For some it's a provocation, for others it's a dream come true. And after all of this debate and discussion, people looked for this, they talked about that. After all this discussion and building today, the Humboldt Forum is having an opening ceremony. It's going to be opening its doors. We're not living in easy times. And perhaps as the lockdown starts today, things are getting even more difficult, and so it's even more exciting perhaps to be able to look behind the scenes here. And maybe that's only possible in the internet, this multidimensional view. We're going to look at people who've been involved, people who are going to be involved, international partners from near and far. It's good that you're here. We're very much looking forward to it. And now take a deep breath, because I'm going to take you right into the heart of the building.
Humboldt Forum'una hoş geldiniz.
Καλώς ήρθατε στο Humboldt Forum.
וברוכים הבאים להומבולט פורום.
Benvenuti a Humboldt Forum.
הומבולט פורום יוקוזו
Hjärtligt
אירשיימashita.
välkomna till Humboldt
A very warm welcome to the Humboldt Forum.
Добро пожаловать на
Bienvenidos a Humboldt. Herzlich willkommen im Humboldt Forum.
und nach etlichen Metern bin ich im imposanten Foyer.
So after a few meters, here I am in the impressive foyer of the Humboldt Forum. I'm going to meet our host, the Director Hartmut Dorgerloh. And thank you very much for the invitation. You're very welcome. It's a special day. Are you excited?
Froh und glücklich, dass
Well, we're very happy about having reached that milestone, and I'm very grateful to all those construction workers who pulled it off under difficult conditions. So we're not a construction site anymore. Cultural life is starting.
The Humboldt Forum has been the subject of a lot of public discussion in the last few days and weeks and months. One subject came up again and again: colonialism, plundered art. Nigeria, for example, has once again renewed its claim to the Benin bronzes. How much has that overshadowed today? How do you feel about that?
I think people will flock here. They will come and be astonished and take ownership of this place. They will feel enthusiastic about the diverse program that we are going to put together with all four actors. But there are also difficult and complex topics that we will have to focus on: colonialism, its repercussion on today, the future of ethnological collections. These are the topics that we're going to debate here. But we're not going to talk about others, but talk with others. This is one of our principles, and that means that a place like the Humboldt Forum is urgently needed.
What does this discussion have with the Humboldts themselves?
Thinking in terms of networks, knowing that everything is connected to everything, is a very important yardstick for our activities, north and south. Ecology, economy, all is interconnected. And we would wonder, where would the Humboldt brothers travel to today? Where would they ask their questions, pose their questions to society and nature? These are the kind of questions that we link with the heritage of Humboldt.
Perhaps very briefly, Mr. Dorgerloh, you could tell us what is your vision for this house after all these months of preparation, all the work?
I am very happy that we are a forum and are going to be a forum. That means an open place for everybody, where people can come, can take a walk, look around, be astonished, talk to each other. We want to promote the diversity of encounters, of cultures, and we want to connect the various aspects and change perspectives by saying, let me listen to you, let me learn from you. This is an open place, an international open platform for cultural questions. That's the Humboldt Forum.
So the Humboldt Forum is opening. Normally we'd have all sorts of people here in this foyer, filling it. Now they're watching us on the live stream. Perhaps you'd say a few words to them.
I'm very glad to have you all with us here. Of course, we would have loved to be together with you here physically, but this is going to happen in the future. You will experience this place that we have prepared for you, because only with you, with the public at large, with the audience, the Humboldt Forum is going to be a livid and vivid place.
I'd like to say hello to everyone who's in the stream as well. You can write words of welcome or congratulation. Go to www.humboldtforum.org to do that. that if you want to. One that we've already received is from a woman who's already very closely involved in the Humboldt Forum, has been very much involved. That's the Federal Commissioner for Culture and Media, Monika, man who has some words. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of art and culture, the moment when you first depart from Europe's shores has something stirring about it. That's what Alexander von Humboldt wrote in his travel journal on the 5th of June 1799 when he set off on his long-awaited journey to South America. And there could have been something stirring too about this moment that many people have awaited and worked towards for so long. The moment when the Humboldt Forum has opened its doors for the very first time, right now. The moment when visitors to the museum could depart from Europe's shores and set off on a veritable journey around the globe. This Palace for the World certainly deserved more than a digital inauguration. It should have been a ceremonial opening with lots of people and a really festive programme. That, however, was not possible because of the pandemic. But it was important to me that as soon as possible we could show you, viewers with an interest in culture, what awaits everyone who likes to travel around the world in their imagination, even if we can only show you virtually for the time being. The Humboldt Forum offers unique insights into the worldwide cultural heritage of humanity and allows us to experience what Humboldt's name represents. It stands for the tradition of the Enlightenment, for interdisciplinary cooperation, for understanding between different positions and perspectives. Wilhelm von Humboldt, through his engagement with foreign languages, arrived at the conviction that there are other highly developed cultures that, in terms of their tradition and significance, could certainly be compared with our civilization. Back then, that was a genuinely revolutionary idea in the countries that now make up Europe, because back then people believed that Europe was the center of the world. Alexander von Humboldt set off for places where no European had ever gone before, and he revolutionized humanity's understanding of the world with his discoveries and with his scientific principles and practices. Both Humboldt brothers are role models and pioneering thinkers when it comes to moving closer to the unfamiliar, with their desire to look at the world beyond the limitations of their own worldview, with their curiosity, which drove them to enter into an encounter with the unfamiliar, rather than pushing it away or belittling it. And this legacy points the way forward for a rapprochement between people, for the ideal of a dialogue between cultures on an equal footing. In this spirit, here in the heart of Germany's capital, we're truly putting the cultures of Africa, America, Asia and Oceania in the limelight. I hope this first glimpse behind the palace's Baroque facade will pique your curiosity to come and visit in the coming year. We can look forward to inspiring cultural experiences, controversial debates and intercultural exchanges as this establishment gradually comes to life over the coming months. You are very, very welcome.
Vielen Dank an Monika.
Thank you very much, and Monika Grütters. Mr. Dorgerloh, when I came here for rehearsals into this impressive foyer for the first time, the first thing I saw was this monstrous thing here. It's called a cosmograph, I've been told. Could you perhaps tell us what the cosmograph is?
Well, the cosmograph is the core piece. It's the huge media tower covering all 4 stories in the large foyer, and all visitors who come here should feel animated, inspired, informed. They find orientation and guidance about what we offer in the Humboldt Forum.
But it's still dark.
Right, and I guess we should change it. I think that's a good idea to bring this cosmograph to life. It's meant to provide a lot of energy, and I believe that we first need to inject some energy into the cosmograph, which is why we asked you to get hold of a light source.
Sie haben sich das Handy ausgesucht als Lichtquelle.
Ich habe mir jetzt mal das Handy ausgesucht.
Well, I've selected my mobile phone as a light source.
Was wirklich ganz schnell die Welt
And we want to take some energy which can travel around the globe very fast. Energy of light. We want to pool it together, bundle it. Let's hold our light source into the camera of our devices and let's see what's going to happen once this light arrives at the Humboldt Forum.
Und da tut sich was.
Something's happening when everyone holds their light up to the camera.
Jetzt wurden wir erleuchtet und jetzt sind
So now we have been illuminated, and now there are so many viewers in the screen. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. It's great that you, near or far, are here. Can you recognize anyone, Mr. Dorgerloh? Well, yes, it's wonderful. Hello.
Well, that's great. It's great to see so many people watching this event, following this event. I see a lot of unknown faces, but also some faces that I know, and it's great to have you all with us here.
Some of them so, well, handsome dressed.
And it's great that you want to celebrate this digital opening together with us. And I can see some well-known faces, for instance, George. Hi, George.
It is a real pleasure to welcome the Humboldt Forum into the museum world, and I just want to wish you very well. I have been involved with the Humboldt Forum for many years, from the time of its conception up to the present. I had my misgivings, and I know there are so many people who have got their misgivings. I've seen so many institutions and so many individuals criticize the Humboldt Forum just because it is built in an expensive former imperial palace. But having been there, I have worked with them, and I've seen that there are people who have listened and have included people within their setup and have changed from the beginning to the end. I would like to say that the Humboldt Forum that is being talked outside there is not the Humboldt Forum that I know, because the one that I know is one that believes very seriously in involving everybody and involving stakeholders. And as the saying goes, if you do it for us without us, you're against us. They listened to that. They included people inside. And for many years now, they have worked with communities, with individuals, with stakeholders to create something that will lead into co-creation, co-exhibition, co-researching, and to look at the issues of provenance of the materials that are contested, so that at the end of the day, we can start to deal with difficult issues of history. And I think that there is no other place than the Humboldt Forum to do that kind of work. So I just want to wish them all the best. And Humboldt Forum, all the best as you open up.
George Abungu.
Ja,
Wie schön.
Danke,
George Abungu.
Wie schön, auch er Teil des internationalen Experten.
Great, he's part of the international expert team as well. I've just seen another one from Shanghai, Wei Hu, who has sent us some greetings through the chat. He says,
I send my warmest congratulations from Shanghai to all the people who made Humboldt Forum real. I feel so honored that I'm one of them. Wie schön.
Ja, da winkt er.
Ja,
genau.
Das ist toll.
Hallo, Wei Hu.
Das ist toll. Und wir hören.
That's great, there he's waving. Now we're going to hear some more words of welcome from a woman who's a member of the Advisory Council on the program here, who knows everything about Humboldt, more or less, because she wrote various books about her. Her name is Andrea Wulf, best-selling writer, and we're going to listen to what she has to say now.
Und hallo nach Berlin.
Good evening to everyone in Berlin. I'm delighted that the Humboldt Forum is completed, and I'm especially pleased that this project bears the name of one of the most important men in our history. And the Humboldt Forum, entirely in the spirit of Alexander from Humboldt, is a place of networking and dialogue. Because Alexander von Humboldt made knowledge democratic, and he believed in the free exchange of information. So I'm looking forward to the day when these rooms will be filled with people who experience this as a place of public discourse and use it in that sense. Nowadays, we draw a clear demarcation line between art and science, between culture and nature. But Humboldt explained to us that everything is intermeshed, and it's this interconnectedness, this interdisciplinarity that is in the foreground. As a member of the Programme Advisory Board, I've been involved in all of this since 2017, and I wish the Humboldt Forum all the best for its launch.
Andrea Wulf, very interesting. If you read our books, it's interesting to see what you learn about Alexander von Humboldt. We had a birthday party last year. Was she there?
Yes, we danced together, not only with Andrea Wulf, thank you very much for your message, but we celebrated with people from around the globe, particularly from those countries where Alexander von Humboldt used to travel in Russia, Europe, but particularly in Central and South America. And let's take a look whether I can see somebody from South America.
From the land of the children of the wind, of the lords of the day and of the night, of the fish, the water, the plant and the star people, from Vaupés in Colombia, a heartfelt greeting to you all. In this new phase, may this great house of knowledge, the Humboldt Forum, become a space in which the beings that now dwell there with you, that you call collections, may be heard, with their words and their stories of life that they can tell us about various territories. May it become a meeting place for the different cultures. May it become a place where the word of the past and the present may circulate, come together, so that this great legacy is thus safeguarded for humankind.
Thank you for those words of welcome. That was Diana Guzman, director of the Museo Etnográfico Regional Indígena from Colombia. Mr. Dorgerloh, thank you very much for being with us so far. We'll be coming back to you later. Now we're going to have a kind of handover and welcome one of your colleagues. See you later. And now we welcome the woman who is responsible for this digital event this evening, Lavinia Fry, who's also head of program and projects at the Humboldt Forum Foundation. I hope I got that right. What's special about today for you?
What's really special for me is this format that we can use digital tools to show all kinds of different approaches to the Humboldt Forum. There's all different trajectories on the internet. First of all, it's with you, and you'll be going down to the basement. You'll go up to look at the fish later. You'll be looking at art and architecture and all kinds of other surprises. And then there's another option, and visitors can find that on the web page or on the YouTube channels. So it's a very different approach. The author and activist Priya Basil has prepared something for us. She has Kenyan and Indian roots. She lived in the UK and has lived in Germany for a long time. She takes a critical look at the Humboldt Forum, locked in, locked out.
And we can see a few pictures from it together now.
In 2020, across the world, anti-racist movements bring down colonial statues, altering the face of cities, challenging authority. And Germany opens its biggest cultural project of the 21st century. A reconstructed imperial palace in the heart of the capital, soon to be partly filled with the ill-gotten belongings of communities all over the world. How could this come to pass? I can step away from the Humboldt Forum, but I can't step out of the world. The dilemmas don't go away just because I keep a distance from one version of them. Was there anything you could effectively set against this building?
Sie stellt gleich eine gute Frage.
So she asks a good question there and looks at things from a critical viewpoint, yes?
Yes, and that film hurts. It's also moving, but it also sparks hope because it demands a great deal of everybody who's going to make a program here.
So that's one perspective. Can you give us another one?
There's also a virtual tour, 360 degrees, open for all, and we can take a peek at that as well. And it's also on the web page, and you can click through it. Here, for example, in the foyer, you can take a look at the sculptures. You can take a real close-up look at them. You can go to the Schluter courtyard through the passageway, You just click and move forward, and then in the Schluter courtyard you can see individual details. There's also curators that you can meet there, and they will, for example, explain the sculpture hall, various details.
And I think it's very interesting in these times of pandemic, perhaps people are going to make use of that more because they're used to it.
Well, yes, exactly. We've made a quantum leap, in a sense. Everyone's on the internet, and I'm much bolder about it. My parents are on Zoom calls.
And there's a rather more light-hearted viewpoint.
Yes, with Stefan Danziger. He's a true Berliner, and he's a comedian, and he takes a look at this from the perspective of Berliners.
That could work too. Very warm welcome to the digital opening of the Humboldt Forum. I'm Stefan Danziger. I'm a comedian. Come along. Let's have a look inside.
Immer noch kein Empfang hier.
Still no reception.
Wir müssen da lang.
That way.
Nee, da.
And now it was that way.
Nee, wir müssen da.
No, that way.
Ich weiß es.
I know.
War ich nicht schon mal hier?
Haven't I been here before?
Und so ging's mir ganz ehrlich auch schon.
And to be honest, that's how I felt a few times when I was here for rehearsals. Lavinia, that was very interesting. Thank you very much. Wish you a relaxed and successful evening, and that things go well in the next few weeks and months.
Thanks.
Jetzt kommen wir
Lavinia Frey. And now we move to the history of how this place came to be. This last phase was rather controversial, but in fact this place has always been controversial. It's got such a varied history. There's been so many things here: a Renaissance castle, a Baroque castle, the Palace of the Republic, which was removed, this new building. Right to start, there was a monastery, and to understand all of that, you have to go really deep, right down into the cellar, which is there where this film starts.
Herzlich willkommen hier im Schloss.
Welcome to the palace cellar under the Humboldt Forum, where we have masonries from 8 centuries of history of the heart of Berlin here.
Hier sind bei den Grabungen vor
In the excavations about 10 years ago, the remains of the Berlin Palace were exposed, but also remains of the Dominican monastery, although the monastery hasn't been there for hundreds of years.
An dieser Stelle verlasse ich den
At this point, I'm leaving the Baroque cellar of the Berlin Palace and moving into another area which leads us right into the Middle Ages, much to the surprise of the archaeologists. That was the period when Berlin was founded. You can tell it's medieval because the bricks are a little larger than Baroque bricks, and there's very little left of the medieval history of Berlin, so it's spectacular finding medieval masonry here.
Archäologen haben hier nicht nur Stein und Mauern.
Archaeologists didn't just find stones, bricks, and things like that. They also found everyday things. For example, a series of taps for barrels. Very interesting is this one in the form of a cock, which shows that there was already that wordplay between a water cock, a tap, and the bird back then.
And this is our multimedia display, where by just swiping across the screen and touching it gently, like an archaeologist, you can uncover objects. And this is the largest artifact we've got here in the cellar. It's a find from the 19th century. This fan is part of what was at the time a very modern heating and ventilation system. And what was new about the principles employed was that it didn't just provide warm air, but also fresh air. And the Kaiser's guests were delighted about that because the old heating system had drawn soot particles into the hole, which meant that the guests had to go home with dirty marks on their clothes. And what you see here is not the work that still needs to be done to finish off the Humboldt Forum. What it actually is, this impressive crater, is a sign of the immense force of the explosion that was needed to demolish part of the palace.
Ich würde mich freuen, wenn Ihnen unsere kleine Reise.
I hope you've enjoyed this brief journey with us from the Middle Ages to the present day. We invite you most cordially to come on a fascinating voyage of discovery through the past here.
Wir sind hier im Videopanorama-Raum,
We're in the video panorama room. It's directly underneath the Trantenroth court, and here you can see the spectacular history of this place set out in a spectacular way. On this screen, 27 meters long, really over-dimensioned. Here you can go through 8 centuries in 14 minutes. Wherever you look in the building, you can find traces, and they remind visitors what happened in this place. And we're going to now move from history to art. There were 4 competitions for art in architecture here, and 4 contemporary artists had a look at the history of this place.
Ausgangspunkt meiner Wandmalerei im Humboldt Forum im Portal 5.
My mural represents the Palace of the Republic, the one that's installed in the entry. I replicated the grid of the facade with acrylic paint, using a lot of copper and orange tones to reproduce the particular impression that the glass gave from the outside. Moving from the left to the right, the color changes, it gets lighter and lighter, and the work dissolves into the gray of the wall. I think it's a great shame that the Palace of the Republic isn't there anymore. It was a historical building which was important for the German Democratic Republic and for German history in general, and it's just not there anymore. I hope that this will be a meeting point for many people, that it will encourage people to think about things and challenge them to get into discussions. Above all, it's a visual memento. We're here in the Humboldt Laboratory. That's the experimental place in the building. You can experiment, you can network, you can play here. I just interacted with fish that is controlled by an AI. They move in response to my movements. I'm going to meet the person behind that now. There he is, the head curator of the Humboldt Laboratory, George Abungu. Hello. It's a very exciting place here. A lot of exciting things happen here. Perhaps you could tell us the basic idea about this Humboldt Laboratory.
In the Humboldt Laboratory of the Humboldt University, research is being brought away from the protected spaces into the public realm. In doing so, we want to make a contribution to anchor science more deeply in the society at large, to make it more visible. Our wish, of course, is to make science intriguing for as many people as possible, or even make them feel enthusiastic about science, to spread knowledge about science, and to democratize scientific discussions, because science is important to all of us, all visitors, important for you, for me. Our daily life is the result of a scientific way of engaging with our environment.
And it seems like you could touch everything and influence everything here one way or another, thinking about the fish there. What's the particular approach to the first exhibition?
We don't design a major museum exhibition showing the state of science, but this is an exhibition in motion where even our display cabinets are movable. This one, for instance, can be moved, and thus we turn this exhibition into a lecture hall where events can be staged. This is science in motion, which continuously takes in fresh knowledge being generated in 3 universities of Berlin, at the Charité, at other research labs, but also generated by the visitors.
So if the basketball team comes by, they can look at that up there.
Yes, but what makes it so special is that we refer all this to Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, who once said that a scientific exhibition should be a fun fair of amusements. So we bring science across to people with scientific and playful approach.
And what's behind it in terms of the content?
In its core, the exhibition focuses on nature as a living environment, which is collapsing in front of our eyes. It focuses on the interplay between natural and social systems, which fight back in the form of natural dependencies and jeopardize the ability of humankind to survive. The Humboldt Laboratory perceives itself as an intervention for the future and for future generations. Our task is to understand that we are part of a history which can continue narrating in a different manner.
Gosh Pekin, head curator here in the Humboldt Laboratory. Thank you for those interesting insights. And now we want to move on. Moving on to the sculptures here in the Humboldt Forum. They've got a very varied history. They used to be on the facade. They've gone through a very interesting history, and now we're going to have a look at them.
The sculpture hall is a very special place. When the palace was blown up, the conservationists did everything in their power to save as much as possible of the original fabric of the building. In total, 8 of the sculptures have been saved. And as these originals are such important pieces, and also due to the extent of the damage to the sandstone, we decided we could no longer set them up outside the building. The visitors will see the originals here that have been salvaged, and then, in the same location, the same position, the copy can be seen in the Schluter courtyard in the reconstruction. On this portal here, in the same configuration as on the actual portal, you can see Mercury, Hercules, Meleager, all gods from antiquity. The figure that we see here, Harmonia, is an original and suffered damage in the war, the arms missing and some smaller details. So it's especially important to compile as much visual material as possible from various eras to see what exactly is missing. That visual material is assessed in the expert committee with the sculptor, so he knows which arm should be completed, in which form. Here we're in one of the side rooms of the sculpture hall, and there's something very special here, the plaster casts that are used when preparing to make the sandstone copies. In order to transpose these into sandstone, the sculptor producing the copy marks a series of measuring points that are then transferred to the sandstone block. The sculptors are in all kinds of different places, in their studios all over Germany. And the question was always, will they manage to do it? Will the sculptor in the north come up with the same sculptural language as the sculptor in the south? And the most wonderful moment in this work was really when the statues were all standing here in the Schluter courtyard. And we could see it, yes, we did it. It does work. We've brought these different languages together.
eindrucksvoll und imposant die Geschichte.
Impressive and striking, the history of these sculptures. We're here in the sculpture room, and here is exhibited this ballot box, which is one of the 35 traces that exhibit the history of this place. This ballot box doesn't really look like much, but is absolutely charged with spectacular history. This is where the fate of the German Democratic Republic was sealed. This ballot box comes from the time of the Volkskammer, the People's Chamber, and that from the time when this really was People's Chamber, Parliament that argued, that debated, that had something to.
That's the People's Parliament from the year 1990, the first freely elected parliament of Eastern Germany, at the same time the last freely elected parliament of the state. The assembly that I met before in this building, in this palace, was not more than a club to rubber stamp decisions taken elsewhere, to hold pretty speeches. But now, finally, the People's Parliament was an assembly full of life, where important decisions were to be taken, particularly about the accession of Eastern Germany to the Federal Republic of Germany. 336 votes were cast, 294 members of parliament voted in favor. I was fully aware of this being an important event. We were deciding about the end of Eastern Germany. We were deciding to accede a democracy, a free country. But I emphasized that we were not going to exceed paradise, nor we exceed hell. We should not create the black illusion that we fall into the hands of thieves. I appreciate it. The Humboldt Forum in the Berlin Palace commemorates past historic layers. It reminds us of the history of the palace, of the history of the city of Berlin, the history of Prussia, and of the history of Eastern Germany. This palace used to be also a place of entertainment for the citizens of Eastern Germany, and it was the place where the People's Parliament met, the Volkskammer. At the end, this palace turned into a place of democracy, which had never been the plan for this building in Eastern Germany.
Wir sind hier im Weltdenkenraum. Das ist der Auftaktraum, bevor es in die Berlin Global.
We're here in the room Thinking the World. That's the room that you go through before you get to the Global Berlin exhibition, where what's addressed is the relationship between Berlin and the world. And here is the head curator of the State of Berlin in the Humboldt Forum and the director of the Berlin City Museum, Paul Spieth. What's this exhibition about?
We want to be the bridge between the world outside, that is Berlin, and upstairs, the world at large. We're here on the first floor, and we want to be a bridge to the world cultures. We narrate the world history of Berlin. What's the position of Berlin in the world? What has it contributed, and what has come as an outside influence? These are some of the topics that we cover. And finally, you will then have a picture of your own position in Berlin and the world.
And how does that work when you come in here as a visitor? How can you get involved?
Well, this exhibition is very participatory by design. You take part, you develop your own thoughts and ideas, you need to solve dilemmas for yourself, and at the end there will be a moment when you can start engaging in the discussion with others. It all starts here at this counter. You will receive a wristband with a chip, and then you can register. Not necessarily under your own name, though, so if you're afraid about data privacy, so you can also register as Donald Duck, so you walk through the exhibition as Donald Duck. What is important to know, you get your own sound or a tone. The illuminated globe will be shown briefly just for you, and then you walk through this double door over there. There you will have to solve a dilemma. Am I more of a local type or rather global? If you want to walk through the middle, you would probably be more local. rather than global, to give you an example. And then you will hear your own sound again. You've got your own tone following you throughout the exhibition. You solve 8 dilemmas. You participate interactively with your wristband. You activate a number of features, and at the end there will be an evaluation. This evaluation will tell you, for instance, you've answered questions regarding 4 important international values.
So you find out something about yourself and how international you are.
Right. You return your wristband and receive a ticket for connection. And this ticket tells you, well, you are in favor of, say, freedom, equality, or in favor of tradition and security. And these values can then be discussed in an easygoing atmosphere in the foyer.
That's very interesting. What are you looking forward to most?
Well, I'm looking forward to the moment where people actually engage in these activities and conversations. They're allowed to do something. At the end, you will receive a reward. You write your conclusions, the discussions, together with the person you've been talking to. We agree to disagree, right? And you write this on a piece of tape, which will then be integrated into a piece of art, which in turn will grow larger over the years. And then you will also receive another wristband to take home. This time it's seeds, which you can plant at home to remind you next year of your visit at the Humboldt Forum.
Then, thank you very much, and we wish you every success and good luck with Global Berlin. Right at the start of our streaming event, we talked to Professor Dorgerloh about the big discussion that there is around the Humboldt Forum, and now we're going to go to the collections that are at issue there, the collections of the Museum of Asian Art and of the Ethnological Museum. And the director himself is going to say more about these works and explain things to us.
Wir sind hier im 3. Obergeschoss.
We're here in the 3rd floor of the Museum of Asian Art.
Wir sind noch auf einer Baustelle.
It's still a building site. That makes it clear that we won't be there in the first phase of the opening. I'm here in the central room under the dome. That's going to present Buddhist paintings over 1,000 years old.
Hier werden 2 Etagen.
There are going to be 2 stories completely filled here. In the 2nd floor, we've got Africa, the Americas, and Oceania.
Das ist für uns eine Herausforderung.
And it's a challenge for us to exhibit in this building, because we have always to remember what context gave rise to these collections. Here you can see the Angkor Wat frieze from today's Cambodia. It's a very intensive visual presentation, very many details, warriors, chariots. It's the first time I've seen it in this way, and I have to find my way through the great variety of images there. We work very closely together with the cultures of origin, with our partners on the spot. We develop exhibitions and questions and perspectives for the future together with them.
Wir sind hier im Wangshu.
This is the Wangshu room, designed by the architect Wang Shu, one of China's best-known architects. There's going to be an imperial throne here from the emperor's traveling palace.
Dann zeigen wir Kunst.
We'll also be showing works of art such as the Buddha sermon here, which brings together many elements of the aesthetic understanding of Chinese and European art.
Das Wichtigste und Besondere für mich ist die.
What's important and special for me is that we can bring the historical collections into the present, that we're quite clearly moving towards developing a shared understanding. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited about it, happy to be excited about it.
Im Humboldt Forum sind wir.
So we're back now in the Humboldt Forum. It's huge. I've lost sight of where I am every now and then, but I do know what's behind me here in the ground floor. It's the first exhibition, Impressions of the Humboldt Brothers, We can have a look at some pictures we got from there. The exhibition, of course, addresses the Humboldts who gave their name to this forum. That's Alexander, who traveled the world, and his brother Wilhelm, who founded the university. Both of them had what we call an open source approach here, namely to make knowledge and science available to everyone, and that's something that's very close to the heart of the Humboldt Forum. Right opposite that, there's the museum shop with the typical lights that you can see through the windows there.
Sie wissen, das hat man früher.
And when the Palast der Republik was here, the Palace of the Republic was here, those lamps hung in it. It was called Eric's Lamp Shop, and you could buy one of these lights for your living room. And there's various things to read, 3 new books about the Humboldt Forum, a history, a short guide, and a coffee table book. And there's a book that you can feel, hear, and see on the path from the monastery to the Humboldt Forum. And let's have a look at this space here. It's 30 meters wide, 30 meters long, and 30 meters high. It's spectacular. It's got a warm atmosphere, and every time you come here, you discover some new detail. And from pictures from cameras in the air, we come to people sitting closer to the ground, to one of the exhibitions here addressed to families and children. Sitting down is something you learn when you're about 7 months old, and it's one of the most comfortable positions that people get into, apart from lying down. And this exhibition shows sitting from the perspective of various different cultures, but also about where it fits into society. It's called Take Your Place. Have a seat.
Have a Seat is an exhibition for very young visitors, which opens up this welcoming space and sends out a message. Take a seat, find your place in the Humboldt Forum. Our Have a Seat exhibition won't be opened until next year, and then there will be really special objects in the exhibition. All you can see for the time being are empty display cases. The exhibition is called Have a Seat. And it's about taking a seat and finding a place in multiple respects. On one hand, it's about different kinds of seating, but it's also about finding your place in society, having a place allocated to you, or maybe being denied a place.
Wer sitzt neben mir?
Who sits next to me? Is there perhaps one seat that's always for visitors? Is there perhaps somebody who'd really better not sit next to me? Just so you think a bit about all that. We also have this little cabin, which is focused on the topic of tea. Pour the milk in anti-clockwise. That's a way to stop time. The best thing is when you open the doors and you hear the laughter. That's really just lovely. When you've been to the Have a Seat exhibition, then you've hopefully had lots of fun, and you've learnt how diverse our world is, and there are lots of different ideas about it.
Und jetzt habe ich die Möglichkeit.
And now I can introduce the resident music collective to you. We've heard sounds every now and then over the evening, and some musicians are here as well. For example, Leonora, what's the resident music collective?
The resident music collective is a group of musicians from all over the world, and they play instruments from various different cultures and traditions. They play together to create a trans-traditional musical concept in various different formats.
Next to you is Ketan. We've heard sounds again and again today. Perhaps you could tell us where they come from, where they're going.
We would have loved to play live, but instead of that, we brought together 23 musicians musicians who come from different musical traditions, from Arab classics to contemporary European music, so a lot of different styles. And we invited them all to a studio and recorded improvisations.
Und das zusammen dann gefügt?
Corona.
Right, and then in the next step, we brought it all together. We merged it and turned that into a sound installation with 4 parts. And as soon as it's allowed, this music will be played in the 4 portals of the Humboldt Forum.
This brings us to the future. And Clemens, who's next to you, which way is it going with the Resident Music Connection?
We plan to have live events from spring on with different formats. We want to have international musicians as guests. We want to cooperate with international ensembles. And it's very important for us that these rehearsals will be public.
So thank you very much for those explanations and that insight into the Resident Music Collective. I wish all of you a lot of fun and every success in the next few weeks and months. And the director, Hartmut Dorgerloh, is here again. Mr. Dorgerloh, we've got a bit of an impression of how things have to be done under COVID, going through difficult times for this once-in-a-century project. What are the next steps in these difficult times?
Well, we hope that we will be able to listen to the group live later in the future. Thank you very much for being able to listen to you. We're looking forward to you not only when you make music, but also when you talk about this music, discuss this music with the audience, because that's the purpose. We want to have a place where people come together, where we can celebrate large parties, and if we are a little bit reasonable over the holidays, then we will come into a situation where the city government of Berlin can say cultural institutions, museums can open again. From now on, we will then be included into those cultural institutions, and we now wait in solidarity for the audience to be able to be received in this building.
COVID will probably be with us for some time still, even though there is some hope with the vaccination and so on. How is the Humboldt Forum going to be dealing with that?
We've got not only historic collections in our building. Our claim is to always ask ourselves, what does it all mean for us today? And if we look at the history of pandemics, it was Europeans who, through the diseases they brought elsewhere, contributed to indigenous populations in Latin America dying because they didn't have any resistance against these diseases. This is a historic topic in our discussion with colonialism, but at the same time we have to ask ourselves what's happening today. So if you want to know what's going on today, go to our website, look at our offerings, and in the months to come, time and again, we're going to focus on current questions in a hybrid format with a couple of people gathering here, but all the rest of the event will be streamed digitally. You can also subscribe to a newsletter to be informed.
Well, you just mentioned hybrid events and the stream. I'd now like to turn again to all those watching us in the stream. Let's have a look at them again on this cosmograph. They're still there. I hope you had fun. Some people are waving, and some people have got glasses in their hands saying cheers, and that fits one way or another for this moment, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely, because what we want to do together here, to celebrate together, to dance together, to have encounters, and maybe you should raise a glass on the success of this building, no matter whether you've got a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or a nice glass of something.
Each alone, individually, because of Corona.
Yes, you take the lead, and I also get hold of a glass, so we can raise a glass together here.
Ach, es kommen immer mehr Gläser und das kleine Mädchen.
Oh, more and more glasses, and Ms. Herm's little girl has a water glass. That's sweet. Hello.
Well, great to have you with us, at least in the digital format. You're warmly invited to come to the Humboldt Forum and to now raise a glass onto our well-being, to our health, and best success for this building.
Cheers to everyone. Thank you very much for being there. It was very inspiring, even if we couldn't all talk individually. I hope you had fun. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Dorgerloh, now for the invitation. It was very interesting, and we're very much looking forward to what's going to be coming in the next weeks, months, and years. So, all the best for the next few days. Stay healthy, and let's hope that COVID is behind us soon. That was the digital opening of the Humboldt Forum. All the best for you, and seeing you.